What about the case when a woman says in her condition in her marriage contract, which basically marriage contracts come under business contracts. They're mentioned classically in the books of fiqh in the chapters about business. What if a woman says, I make a stipulation on you that you do not marry a second wife. You stick to me only. And this is pretty common, as I understand, in the West. Basically, our ulama have two positions on this contract. One is that the condition is batil, preventing a man from a haqq, from a right that he has. So you agree, in this case, under this opinion, you agree, and the condition is invalid. However, what seems to be more correct, and this is specifically what our Shaykh Wasi'Allah has given as a verdict in his lessons at the Kaaba, mentioning some ulama that he also took it from, that this is a permissible condition. That a man has the right, has a choice to marry one wife, and he has a choice to marry two wives. It's a permissible dunya option for him. It's halal for him to have one wife, and it's halal for him to have two wives. Therefore, it's halal for him to restrict himself to one wife. Since it's halal for him to restrict himself to one wife, then it's halal to agree to restrict himself to one wife. He's not agreeing to anything impermissible. So based on that, the Shaykh said such a condition is binding. And he didn't talk about, is it a good condition, does it have a lot of benefit, but the actual condition is valid and holds and takes place. And that's what seems to be correct in my opinion, and that's what the Shaykh Wasi'Allah Muhammad Abbas mentioned at the Kaaba, and it seems to be correct. There's a whole lot of hands coming up. Ahmed.
Just leading up to that question, if he agrees to that, and later on, he wants to break that,
and then he changes the fatwa, right? Just go take the other fatwa. Go fatwa shopping. Huh? What's the question again? Okay. What if a man is not pleased? He makes the condition, and we're gonna basically say, right now we're gonna assume that Shaykh Wasi'Allah's position here is correct, and we're gonna build on that, as opposed to what if this is the case and what if that is the case. I'm gonna assume that you're with me on this position, that the condition is binding. Once you enter into a contract and the condition is binding, then it's wajib on you to fulfill the condition. And you cannot just say, I want out of this condition, unless the person on the other end of the contract says, I free you from the condition. Right? But you yourself being displeased with the contract or the stipulation, then don't sign it in the first place, because it's wajib on you to uphold it once you sign it. And Allah knows best. If you've broken, that issue is taken to the Muslim judge, the Muslim court. When you break a stipulation to the contract in your marriage, have you broken it? All those issues are resolved with the Muslim judge in a court where the husband and wife are both abroad. Yes?
Shaykh Albani rahimahullah, in his response to a question like this, he said that this condition is batil because you don't know the future and you might not have kids with that lady.
Right.
It's your right to have kids, so this condition, you don't know the future.
But it's not wajib on you to have kids. There's the point, right? It's permissible for a man not to have children. He's encouraged to have children. But if a man does not have children, is this something impermissible he's fallen into, not having children? And you can see there's an angle where someone might say, the Prophet ﷺ told us to marry the walud wadud, the wadud, the woman she's loving, she's young, and she's loving, and she gives birth, she's fertile. Because why? إِنِّي مُكَافِرٌ بِكُمَ الْأُمَمِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. I'm going to be boasting about your great numbers on the Day of Judgment. So there's a lot of encouragements to have children. However, if a man doesn't have children, he hasn't fallen into a sin. If a man remains single and doesn't marry and doesn't have any children, he hasn't sinned. He hasn't sinned. So he can agree to marry a woman, and it's possible that no children will come up. There's no real big mafsada there. This is based on the other opinion. Right? I told you already that some scholars said this, and no shock that Shaykh Al-Albani, rahimahullah, or any other scholar had mentioned this position. And there's no attempt here to say that this position holds no weight or something, but rather, like I said, we're going to basically go with that position. That's what seems to be correct to me, and that's what one of my mashayikh stressed, and it seems to make sense to me. Wallahu a'lam. It's not about me being versus Shaykh al-Albani or anything, but we respect the position of the other scholars, and we see the angle as well. The angle it's there. There's a clear angle for that statement.